So, whatever happened to that very first standalone, non-Skywalker-based Star Wars film from 2016, Rogue One, a Star Wars story? Let's find out. Movies,
Music and monsters. Danger, danger.
Hey, my friends, Dan Monroe here, talking about movies, music, and monsters. Now, right off the bat, I want to let you guys know that currently the space wife and I are in New York City on a bit of a relaxation getaway, so this week's video might just be a little bit shorter than normal.
Thank the maker.
So, before Deb and I go take a bite out of the Big Apple, I wanted to touch on a film that I thought deserved both praise and scrutiny.
West and Wee-Waxation at West.
Well, it's the space wife's birthday week, more commonly known as Debbie Palooza here in the Monroe household.
Week. Try more like a month.
Well, either way, I definitely wanted to get a video out this week, and what better way than with a little bit of Star Wars? Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Well, my friends, I have to say that I was indeed very much actually looking forward to this film coming out. After all, this was the first time ever that we were getting a film that was not directly associated with the other Skywalker films, and I thought that any director or writer that could literally take one paragraph from the opening crawl of the original Star Wars and turn it into an entire 2-hour movie, either way, good or bad, was certainly going to be interesting to say the least. This video will probably end up being more of an opinion piece than anything else, but grab your Kyber crystal and your favorite reprogrammed Imperial droid with a bucket of stale popcorn and let's dive in.
Okay, but how did this entire movie based on one paragraph get started anyway?
Well, way back during the production of Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, visual effects supervisor John Knoll had an idea based on that opening crawl, which he thought was really quite eligible for expansion. How exactly did the rebels steal the Death Star plans? So he pitched the idea to George Lucas for an episode of Lucas's planned television series called Star Wars Underworld, which really sounded like it was going to be super cool, but sadly never happened.
But that's the topic of another video. Can't wait.
Yes, indeed. However, this short treatment that John wrote was called The Destroyer of Worlds, and after Star Wars Underworld was considered basically a dead project, and after Disney acquired Lucasfilm in 2013 for $4 billion, John Knoll pitched the idea again, this time to Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy, who apparently liked the idea. So, in May 2014, Disney announced that British filmmaker Gareth Edwards would direct the film, with many different writers working on the project during development, and in March 2015, the title, Rogue One, was officially revealed. I remember sitting in the theater with both excitement and trepidation when the lights went down and the movie started. I could tell already from the trailers that this was definitely going to be a war film. I wasn't really into the quote-unquote war films. Never was. My dad was. Huge movie buff as far as war movies go. Midway, Tora, The World at War, constantly playing on those old early 1980s gigantic VCRs in my living room. I don't know, I guess I really just wasn't into watching a lot of war movies with people getting shot and ships blowing up.
So instead, you watch sci-fi movies of people getting shot with lasers and spaceships vaporizing.
Precisely. Anyway, the movie started with a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. super cool. Then the title card and the music with no opening crawl, which, in my opinion, was a mistake. Opening crawls should always be a part of every Star Wars movie, but that's just my opinion. In 2016, in regards to the opening crawl, Kathleen Kennedy said, and I quote, "We're in the midst of talking about it, but I don't think these anthology films will have any opening crawls."
Dan didn't have an opening crawl till he was 4 years old.
It's tough crawling as a 6'9" baby.
You know, the cast of this film I thought was really quite good, to be honest, with Felicity Jones in the lead role as Jyn Erso, daughter of Imperial scientist gone rogue, Galen Erso, played by the incredible Mads Mikkelsen, Diego Luna as Cassian Andor, Alan Tudyk as K2SO, Forrest Whitaker as Saw Gerrera, Wen Jiang, Donnie Yen, and of course the always impressive Ben Mendelsohn as Orson Krennic, the director of advanced weapons on the newly created Death Star.
Many Bothans died to bring us this information.
No, that was the second Death Star.
Star Killer Base.
No, that was the third Death Star.
Death Stars, 5 for $1.
Principal photography for Rogue One began at Pinewood Studios on August 8th, 2015, where enormous sets were built for the production alongside a lot of filming taking place all over the world, really, like in Iceland, the Isles of Gan in the Maldives, as well as a former Royal Air Force base used to represent sections of Scarif, the Imperial base where our heroes attempt to steal the Death Star plans from. Interesting, on a technical level, this entire movie was filmed with Ultra Panavision 7D lenses and large format digital 6K cameras. Super cool, director Gareth Edwards was actually the guy who pulled the release lever on the Rebel blockade runner at the end of the film. This is so cool. While Gareth Edwards and his team were like rummaging around boxes in the old Lucas warehouses, can you imagine just being allowed to do that? Anyway, they came across a bunch of old film canisters and were told that this was original footage from Star Wars.
Not A New Hope? That's amazing.
This discovery. Why am I doing? William Shatner allowed them to put in some unused Star Wars footage into this film, like Red Leader and Gold Leader. Fun, really strange fact. Director Gareth Edwards came up with the Imperial planet name of Scarif when an employee at a Starbucks coffee shop accidentally spelled his name on his cup as Scarif rather than Gareth.
It just doesn't get any more fun or creative than that.
Okay, I suppose I'm nitpicking, but this always drove me nuts in the scene on the planet with the big Jedi statue fallen over. At first, it's pointed in that direction, and then literally 2 minutes later, it's pointed in the other direction. I mean, come on, how many people actually watched this before it went out to the theaters? And everybody obviously missed it. And yes, even R2-D2 and C-3PO have a brief cameo in the film, along with tons of other, shall we say, member berries sprinkled on top for good measure, which I didn't really think was necessary, but it did kind of make you go, hey, remember that probe droid? And hey, remember that guy from the cantina? But some of it was cool, and here's something I didn't know until I started researching this film. Warwick Davis, the little kid who played Wicket the Ewok in Return of the Jedi, played this creepy little character in Rogue One. Fun fact, Gareth Edwards used the London Underground's Canary Wharf station as a location for a part of the Imperial base, with filming taking place overnight when the station was closed to the public.
Sounds like a pretty good way to cut the cost of the budget.
Well, initially the film was supposed to have a budget around $200 million, but after the film was released, it turned out being more like 280 million, but after the UK tax breaks, it eventually came back down to only 232 million, with the very last scene of the film to be shot being the extremely popular Darth Vader slaughtering the rebels sequence.
That scene was always my favorite.
Maybe so, but it is worth discussing.
Yeah, the first time I saw that sequence in the theater, I thought to myself, wow, that was really pretty cool. But then on the drive home, I got to thinking, wait a minute, something about that sequence doesn't seem quite right with this film literally taking place about one day before the original Star Wars happens, where at the end of that film, we see Vader and Obi-Wan in their climactic duel looking like two old men slowly and clumsily hitting lightsabers together.
Yes, but it looked cool.
But here, at the end of this film, Vader is unbelievably, ruthlessly, and energetically just ripping through those rebel soldiers like hot blasters through an Ewok. I don't know, to me, as cool as it was to see, yes, it just never seemed to sit quite right in the grand scheme of the Vader character from this film to the next one.
Yes, but it's Vader. They needed something to hold the audience interest.
They obviously did some really good research into how Vader should look in this Star Wars prequel, and they did a really great job with both the helmet and the costume. Most impressive, with James Earl Jones once again reprising his role as the voice of the Dark Lord of the Sith. Okay, the musical score for Rogue One was originally going to be composed by a French film composer, Alexander Desplat, or Display, not sure which, who had already worked with Gareth Edwards on the 2014 reimagining of Godzilla, but when push came to shove, he opted out of this project due to his involvement with another film, so he was replaced by Michael Giacchino, who only had, believe it or not, 4.5 weeks to compose the music for the entire film. Honestly, and maybe I'm nitpicking here, but I never really cared for the score. I thought it was okay, but I just kept wondering to myself two things. One, what would this movie have been like if John Williams actually did the score?
A boring movie with great music.
And two, why the heck didn't John Williams do the score?
Maybe he was busy working on his score for The Last Jedi.
Okay, even though I do have my opinions on The Last Jedi, there were a lot of people that really liked it, and I certainly don't want to come across being one of those channels, but I will say this. For good or for bad, The Last Jedi certainly did keep the topic of Star Wars up front in people's minds for quite a while, which, you know what they say, even bad news is news, and it certainly did keep Star Wars in the public eye.
That's it, Dan. Take a stand. Hey, that rhymed.
And then there's the elephant in the room, or rather the CGI digital characters. Okay, did Tarkin need to be in this film? Yes, absolutely, no question. But I've always been one of those, shall we say, old school believers that less is more. The shots of Tarkin from behind with his reflection in the window were awesome. They could have kept him more in the shadows to let people know that he was there, but no way. Bang! There it is, a full screen close-up shot of a digital face. I don't know. I mean, I get it. This was basically the filmmakers and special effects people's way of showing off their work, like Princess Leia at the end of the film. I thought it was cool, but there's always been something slightly off-putting about it to my eye. But then again, if I was watching this movie as a 10-year-old kid, you know what? I probably would have looked at it and thought, wow, how cool is that?
Cool, yes, for back in the day. But any iPhone with AI would have looked better. Face it, it didn't hold up.
Rogue One premiered at the Pantages Theater in Los Angeles on December 10th, 2016, pulling in over $530 million in the US and Canada, and an additional $520 million from other countries for a worldwide total of over $1 billion, making it one of 2016's biggest and most valuable blockbusters.
Okay, but what did George Lucas think about it?
Yeah, as we all know, he wasn't that much of a fan of The Force Awakens.
Well, let's just say that it was reported that George Lucas told Gareth Edwards that he enjoyed the film very much.
I suppose he had 4 billion reasons to say that.
Rogue One, a Star Wars story, was not only an enormous box office success for the franchise, but has also really found a place in both the hearts and the minds of Star Wars fans all over the world, paving the way for other great and not so great Star Wars movies and TV shows to follow, including The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker, The Book of Boba Fett, The Mandalorian, the Kenobi television series, Solo, A Star Wars Story, and so many more. We could be here all day, but that, my friends, I really hope you guys enjoyed that deep dive all about Rogue One, and if you did and you like this kind of stuff, please consider subscribing to the channel. I've got a whole bunch of new videos coming up really soon that I know you guys are just gonna dig. And don't forget to stick around after the show for these two guys giving their opinions about God knows what with Robots After Dark.
And if you'd like to help support the channel, you can always buy us a coffee. Link in the description.
And please feel free to stop back anytime as we together continue the conversation on movies, music, and monsters.
Oh, hello. I'm sorry I didn't see you come in. I'm your host. You've really arrived just in time, because it's going to be a wild, swinging evening. A number of friends are here.
That's right, Robert. T2, Gort, and Johnny 5 will be stopping by the crib a bit later for the Robotic National Beer Pong Quarterfinals.
That's Fab Robot. You'll be reprising your role as referee on that.
Wouldn't miss it.
Just put a tap in you and they're all set. You're built like a beer keg.
Hey, oh.
Say, who's your friend behind you?
Oh, that's Helga. We shared a taxi on the way over here. She no speaka the English very good.
Wer ist der Schnitzel, meine Schatzi?
Looks like she can really take down the WD-40, if you know what I mean.
I am a 3-in-1 kind of gal, ja?
Dynamite.
Looks like you have your hands full with that one.
I think you meant claws.
I'm hip.
So, what's on the tap for today? That was a beer pun, by the way.
Looks like Dan and Deb hit the road and left us with Rogue One, a Star Wars Bory.
You should like that K2SO droid. He's a butler type, just like you.
He and 3PO roomed together in Oxford. Talk about beer pong.
Was ist los hier? Beer, beer, beer. Where's meine Becks? Now the C2, there was a drinker. Like Arnold.
That's quite the accent you have there, Helga.
Speaking of accents, why does everyone have an English accent in this film? Is that to make them all seem smarter? Looks like they all get wiped out in the end anyway. Good plan.
Fun fact, Chirrut wanted his character to be blind so he wouldn't have to see the film.
Come, my child, don't be that way. If he was truly blind, he couldn't see the cartoon, Tarkin, and Princess Leia.
If only there was some way they could have used the Death Star to blow up stuff in every scene.
And ultimately in every movie.
Still, there were some very good spots in the movie.
Like the ending credits.
I can see where this is going.
That must be Gort. I told him not to drive with his visor down.
It sounds like Gort, ja? I love the strong silent type. A robot who could destroy the world.
Yeah, he's so menacing. Walking around the Earth, destroying one brick wall at a time? He's got to rethink his strategy.
Well, cats, that's it for tonight. Remember, this show is sponsored by Playbot. It's more than just the articles.
Movies,
Music and monsters.